UN sees poverty hope in African uptake of child welfare payments. First big oil and gas discovery made offshore of South Africa. Plus, Ugandan Central Bank leaves key rate at 10% for second time. This is Business Incorporated. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. First, the markets. And here in Africa, the JSE index fell heavily at intraday, down 1.44%, ahead of President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address this evening. With no top-tier economic data due locally, focus is expected to shift to Ramaphosa's speech after the market close, with investors looking for clues about the fate of cash-strapped state power firm Eskom. Egypt's index was also down 0.11%. However, the Nigerian market bucked the trend to trade up 0.43%. Kenya closed in the green on Wednesday. In the Middle East, the major Gulf stock markets fell at intraday, with Dubai losing 1.67%. The Abu Dhabi index was down 0.60%, while Dubai financial market was also down 0.56%. Saudi SE was down 0.08%. And European stocks were slightly lower in the morning as market participants monitored the latest flurry of copper results. Let's bring in Paul now to tell us about other news on the wires driving sentiment today. Good afternoon, Paul. Thank you for joining us today. Yes, Paul, if you can hear me. Well, UK Prime Minister Theresa May heads back to Brussels today to face Donald Tusk, the EU chief, whose comment about special place in hell for Brexiteers without a plan is causing quite some upset. What should the markets expect from this meeting?
Well, the temper is certainly flaring. Only 50 days before Brexit is likely going to be a reality, and naturally that doesn't go down too well with investors and the markets. Here in Germany, the German blue chip DAX is down over 1%. May went back to Brussels in order to try to renegotiate this divorce, trying to get rid of, or maybe in some way, shape, or form, change this backstop, this insurance that there won't be a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, which belongs to the UK. It does seem like she just came a little bit late, because yesterday the Irish Prime Minister was in Brussels to make sure that the rest of the EU stands firmly behind the country, not wanting to see any border there, and EU officials made sure to stress that this border will stay open even in case of a hard Brexit. No renegotiation, no cherry picking for the UK. However, this is the only thing that would really bring the UK Parliament behind Theresa May. And so a very sad day in these negotiations.
All right, let's look at the data coming in now from the EU. The EU has just slashed its forecast for Eurozone growth. What does this say about the Eurozone economy? What are the drags there?
Yeah, the EU Commission, which is the executive arm of Europe, has downgraded its forecast for 2019. It's not so optimistic anymore as it was in fall. Back when it said 2019, the Eurozone would grow 1.9%. Now it has revised that number to 1.3%. And the biggest worries are Germany and Italy. Germany, the bloc's driving economy, has cooled off. Now there's an expectation of 1.1% of growth when it was 1.5% in 2018. The original assumption was that the situation would improve. Now the assumption is that the situation is actually going to be worse than in the previous year. Problems are the international trade situation, especially the problems between the U.S. and China. This doesn't even consider the EU trade talks. But because of that slowdown in China, car manufacturing has slowed down, and that is a big driver of the German economy. Not such a positive situation here. And a similar picture in Italy, where growth is expected at 0.2%. The bloc's third largest nation, therefore, has a problem with its spending plans, because the budget that it delivered to the EU at the end of last year makes the assumption that Italy will grow strongly in 2019 and also in 2020. Now, with these revised numbers, that means either Italy is going into a much larger deficit, or the Italian politicians will have to revisit their plans and actually cut some of that lavish spending that they had planned. More bad news is not just growth that is slowing down, but inflation forecast was also corrected downwards, which might spell some trouble for the European Central Bank, ECB, which was planning to hike rates this year and only just ended its assets purchasing at the end of last year. Now we're likely going to see a revision of that. Maybe there's not even a rate hike this year.
All right, let's look at World Bank leadership. Jim Young Kim is leaving his post 3 years earlier than expected. Today begins a month-long nomination process for his successor. But the U.S. President Donald Trump has put forward his candidate, Treasury official David Malpass. Malpass is a Trump loyalist and critic of global institutions. Now, what will Malpass' leadership mean for the World Bank if this case through?
Well, if worse comes to worse, Donald Trump isn't a big fan of these global institutions either. If worse comes to worse, he might try to use Malpass to get the World Bank, involved in his economic policies. First of all, Malpass has to be chosen, though, by the executive board, and that isn't just the U.S. It's also 188 other states that make that decision. Although the U.S. as the biggest shareholder with 16% has in the past usually been able to provide the head of the World Bank. There was competition in 2012 from both Colombia and Nigeria. In terms of Malpass himself, he has criticized global institutions, and specifically the World Bank, for becoming too large and too intrusive. He also thinks that the institution should not be lending money to China, at least not in the capacity that it now does, because China is much too wealthy in his opinion, as it saddles other countries with its Belt and Road Initiative. On the positive side, maybe, he has vowed to devote the World Bank to poorer countries and to the advancement of women, should he be at the helm. But it's still going to be a difficult sell, because America First policy is putting some developing countries in a very tough situation. More controversy might come out of the climate change understanding of the World Bank. That was one of the contentious issues with current President Kim, who was at odds with the Trump administration and effectively ended the bank's involvement in coal, not something the U.S. president is likely to greet well.
All right, we'll just watch and see what happens eventually. Thank you very much for your time.